cocaine rehab, and a pregnant receptionist. God's creature, right? God's special creature? And I've warned him, Kevin. I've warned him every step of the way. Watching him bounce around like a fucking game, like a wind-up toy. Like 250 pounds of self-serving greed on wheels. The next 1,000 years is right around the corner, Kevin, and Eddie Barzoon. Take a good look.
Excuse me.
Because he's the poster child for the next millennium. These people, it's no mystery where they come from. You sharpen the human appetite to the point where it can split atoms with its desire. You build egos the size of cathedrals, fiber optically connect the world to every eager impulse, grease even the dullest dreams with these dollar green, gold-plated fantasies until every human becomes an aspiring emperor, becomes his own god. And where can you go from there? Hey, wrong way!
Yeah. Fuck you.
And as we're scrambling from one deal to the next, who's got his eye on the planet? As the air thickens, the water sours, even the bee's honey takes on the metallic taste of radioactivity. And it just keeps coming, faster and faster. There's no chance to think, to prepare. It's buy futures, sell futures, when there is no future. We got a runaway train, boy. We got 1 billion Eddie Barzoons all jogging into the future. Every one of them getting ready to fist fuck God's ex-planet, lick their fingers clean as they reach out toward their pristine, kybernetic keyboards to tote up their fucking billable hours. And then it hits home. You gotta pay your own way, Eddie. It's a little late in the game to buy out now. Give me your watch.
What? I like this watch. Do you think you're just gonna have to try and take it?
Your belly's too full, your dick is sore, your eyes are bloodshot, and you're screaming for someone to help. But guess what? There's no one there. You're all alone, Eddie. You're God's special little creature.
Hello. I have to make this video on the run because so much is happening now, but I promised people that I will say a couple of words regarding the question which really bothers them, which is totally natural because they worry if the war is coming. I started this video with probably the greatest monologue of them all in the modern cinema by one of the greatest actors ever, Al Pacino, in Devil's Advocate, for a reason. Well, certainly we can sit here, and we will, and I'm doing this constantly on my blogs, sitting here and discussing military potentials, economic potentials, and how the country against country wars or nation against nation wars can develop. We should always remember what is shown and stated in the monologue by Al Pacino in this wonderful piece and an incredible movie, Devil's Advocate, which is a genius. It's a really prescient movie, and we are talking about Eddie Barzoon. When we talk about economy and military potentials, it's one thing, but you have to always remember who those people are in modern West today who make decisions and decide the fate of their nations and nations around the globe. And it goes without saying that since 1997, when this monologue was written and the movie shot, and again, it's a masterpiece, things changed not to the better. We do have in American and in general Western political elites people who are those Eddie Barzoons, God's unique creatures, as the devil himself says. These are people with basically without morals, and we can see their basically manifestations of that daily. And those people without normal sociocentric instinct, and sociocentric instinct which really drives the society. We still have the empathy, we have sympathy, we really have pity, we try to sometimes help people, and we also kind of ourselves become the mirror or reflection of those processes, and that's what keeps society in the end really going, not just economic, however important issues. Those people are not that. I'm not saying that they are all like that, but substantial part of the political elites of the West today are downright psychopaths, and they do have very serious psychiatric issues. Now, you cannot reason with these people, yet we also have to consider this other important fact, which I constantly write about, and I was writing about it for, many years, really, that the United States at this stage is ungovernable. There is nobody to talk to in particular by anybody in China or Russia who can represent unified and coherent position on the part of the United States. That is why I constantly say that it's actually not my term. I didn't invent it. But it came from Russia that the United States is non-agreement capable. Basically, any treaty with the United States today, starting from probably 2008-9, is not worth the paper it's written on. You can sign the treaty with the United States, and then this treaty will be basically thrown out in the wind, and you have to deal with another contingency. And that's what drives both right now political and military considerations on part of Russia. To some degree, I believe, I'm not a specialist on China, but China probably operates within this framework. And in this case, as I already stated, we really need to look at what is going on in terms of, let me pause, I have sorry about it. We need to know what we're dealing with in terms of human material. When we speak and try to make any arrangements or consider which kind of arrangements are being made between obviously tripolar world, as it is now admitted by chairman of the Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, that, yeah, we're in tripolar world, Russia, one power pole, China, another power pole, and United States. And please, I want to make a little bit of, footnote. Do not place Russia and China as one pole. It will be a huge mistake. While there is no doubt about existence of the allied relations, especially developing military allied relations between Russia and China, again, do not forget that alliances most of the time are made against somebody. And considering the fact that the United States begins to, at least some people in the United States begin to appreciate the level of the decline of the United States and loss of its power, we're still a long way before the real picture will emerge in Washington, D.C., hopefully. But Russia and China are separate power poles. They are separate cultures. Yes, they are neighbors. Yes, there are many common interests between the two. But culturally, Russia and China are very different societies. And you have to remember that Russia, in some very important respects, is what West is supposed to be today. Obviously with the Russian twist on it, but obviously the modern West as we know it is not the West of the 19th or early 20th century. But the point is that no matter how we play all that, how do you negotiate with people who have schizophrenia? Multiple personalities. That's what is happening in the United States right now. And that's the main danger. Obviously, militarily, the United States cannot do much in terms of Russia. It theoretically can do more, at least for now, in the nearest 10 years against China. But again, once Russia supports China, and there you go, combination is unwinnable for the United States. But at this stage, the only center, the only real hot spot, so to speak, is Ukraine, obviously. And we may talk about this for a very long time. We have to really understand the meaning of Ukraine in regards to Russia and how Ukraine is viewed from the United States. United States value in Ukraine is only one, and it is as the primer, as the starting point of some hot conflict, which will delegitimize Russia's efforts, primarily economic ones, in Europe, and allows the United States, maybe if it decides to, again, here's the issue, you don't know who runs the United States nowadays, if it decides to finally bury Europe by means of exporting some significant quantities of America's energy, and then just basically destroy the European Union and eat the euro. So Ukraine could be a great pretext for that. It can start the war. Obviously, militarily, Ukraine will be wiped out really fast. It's armed forces, but there are obviously political consequences. And here's the issue which I cannot emphasize enough. I cannot really say louder than that Russians do not want Ukraine. Russia's main concern for Ukraine is the fact that it's basically a black hole. But first, overwhelmingly, Russian population doesn't want, and they're really suspicious of having Ukraine joining in some form Russia. Nobody needs the very aggressive and very Russophobic population, that's primarily majority of Ukrainians today, joining Russia. It's one thing. Secondly, and that's the main point, is that if Ukraine begins any kind of hostilities against Donbass and Lugansk, those republics, and certainly tries to involve Russia in that, Russia will have to go in big time. And once Russia goes big time, the right of the victor appears out of the thin air, and the Russians, as the victors, nobody really have any doubts about the fate of the Ukrainian armed forces and Ukrainian statehood. You need to take this country on balance, or whatever the part Russia will be forced to carve out of it. And that's the issue. That's the problem. Russians don't want to do that. At least not now, at least not under present conditions. And that is the conundrum Kremlin has to face. And this is the only place where really big-time war can start. But there is also another sign, and as you can see yourself, with media admitting that world essentially now multipolar, it means only one thing. Not only one thing, but that's the main thing, is that at least some people who are in power, whatever this group is in Washington, D.C., they do understand, by admitting multipolarity of the world, that you cannot fight war on the peer-to-peer competition, with the peer competition such as Russia. Well, Russia is not even peer anymore. I mean, you can read my blog posts about matters of modern weapon systems, and how do you even fight Russia? I mean, you're going to end up just being destroyed. Practically on every level of escalation, be it conventional, let alone nuclear, God forbid we ever go there. So at least we can state that we have this understanding. But then again, the main question, who really runs the United States? I don't know. I know there are several groups. I know they still continue to fight. As today's stunning news about indictment of this jerk, Igor Danchenko, who basically was one of the main drivers behind the scandalous and totally fake Steele dossier, which is in the foundation of the destruction of the Russian-American relations by primarily Democratic Party. And the fact that he was indicted today is an interesting, really, development. It's really huge, honestly. So at this stage, we can say that the game is in progress. Somebody still continues to fight for the final power, but obviously Virginia's election are a good sign, I think so. And at this stage, we can say that probably not a big war. I hope so, at least. So I won't say that the provocation won't continue. They will continue. And again, we don't even know who really drives them. Nobody knows who runs White House. But there is definite, how to say it, sign of the desire to also calm things down on the American part, and these are good news. It's good news for superpowers, for whatever, polar, those poles of the world, for Russia, possibly for China down the road. But this, as Saker Andrei Raevsky correctly states, that could be bad news for smaller countries, and especially away from Russia's Eurasian and China's Eurasian spheres of interest and forming influence. So who knows? We have yet to see what will happen. But at this stage, since everything we do in our life is probabilistic and is described by probabilities, I would say that real war between Russia and China and the United States is unlikely, even if by a very narrow margin. But this is good enough at this stage, and we have to wait and see. I know it's a protracted process. We're talking about states with the populations of people in hundreds of millions, and China in billions. So the processes there, social, cultural, military, and other, they take time, obviously. This time is very short on the historical scale, but on human scale, it seems like long, but in reality, even on a human scale, it's not that long. Just remember where the world was in 2008, then at 2014. Today is 2021, and we're in a full-blown multipolarity with different poles of power forming our geopolitical reality, and the United States basically beginning, at least on some levels, to understand that it's not hyperpower, it's a superpower, but which begins to lean more towards regional, because you cannot sustain basically the economy and military the way they were run for the last 30 years in the United States. And as the result, we may have a kind of an iota of optimism here. So we'll see. I'm not in the position, and I am not trying to be a Cassandra and sit here and predict any particular events. But at this stage, I would say a real big war, I hope, is unlikely at this stage. Other than that, well, good news for me, honestly. Then we'll see where it all goes. Probably we'll see it, I would say, by the end of the year, beginning next year, things will get clearer. And they do get clearer. If you look attentively at how things were developing for the last 20 years, it's really, there is no secret, there is no puzzle or mystery about all it. We can see all this revelation mode on Russia's part, and it reveals things really fast. So in this case, I would say, don't worry too much. Pay attention to your loved ones, love them, keep them close, and, we should be fine for a while. That's my call for today, and please do not forget to subscribe and support me on Patreon. And again, I want to make sure that you understand, I am the open mode in my videos. I do accept Patreon, but I am trying to make at this stage videos and my thoughts free for everyone, and people can, I won't use the word enjoy, but have at least the chance to, share their thoughts, speaking to me, and that is why for now it's free for all. But please, those people who are in a position and financially secure, support me on Patreon, of course. Other than that, what can I say? Good day, have fun, talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.